Hi, everyone. Thank you for coming. You are the brave ones. As you can see, I don't know, not a lot of people are attending events because of what's going on with the coronavirus. We are following university protocol, so I'll suggest you guys do the same. We have scheduled presentations until the end of the semester, but definitely we'll keep you guys posted on social media, but please follow up with FIU for the latest update. What else? Thank you again for coming. We have the meals. They were wrapped today, I guess because of the coronavirus as well. So I hope you enjoy it. For those that might not know, these sessions are sponsored by the New York Times. And as an FIU student or staff faculty, you have free access to the New York Times online articles. If you don't know how to access those, there's a pink card. Make sure you get it and follow instructions. Again, today we have a very special session. They took the time to be here. They're gonna take the time to introduce themselves. But in general, we have Veterans of America. The group is here at FIU, correct? Okay, so they have their own group here, and there's BA internal office as well here at FIU. I guess they're gonna let us know a little bit more about that. Again, this is a very important topic. I think this is a very unique topic. We never had this before, but it's really important for us to be exposed to this and their perspectives and their experience. So again, thank you so much for taking the time and being here, and also thank you for serving. We truly appreciate all that you do, and thank you for sharing the next hour with us, okay? Oh, one last thing, you guys already know, if you have questions, just wait for Taylor or myself to get there with the mic so we can hear on the audio. Thank you so much.
Hi guys, so my name is Tiana Byers and I am the president of Student Veterans of America, and today I'm going to be your moderator. So basically what we're going to do first is just go through some introductions. We're going to talk to everyone on the panel so that they can give you some more information about themselves, and then we're going to get into the questions. So a little introduction to me. My name is Tiana. I'm from Jacksonville, Florida. I identify as a Oh, it's okay. I identify as a cisgendered woman that's heterosexual. My MOS in the military, I'm in the Air Force, is aircraft armament systems. And basically what that means is that I repair bomb racks and launchers, things that are going to deploy weapons when the pilots need them to. So that's what I do in the military. And right now my academic goal is a bachelor's in international business as well as marketing. And that's just a little bit about me, so we're going to go down the line. Keishla, you're up next if you want to.
Hey guys, I'm not in there, but my name is Keishla. I am the graduate advisor for the Student Veterans of America at FIU. I am originally from Naranjito, Puerto Rico. I served in the Marine Corps. I identify as queer and a cisgender woman. My ethnicity, I say I'm Puerto Rican, but I identify as a morena. And my preferred pronouns, I don't really care, I go for all pronouns. And my MOS, while I was in the Marine Corps, I was an administrative specialist. Pretty much, I was just a paper pusher. I was stationed overseas in Okinawa, Japan, and in Corpus Christi, Texas. And my academic goal, I'm currently pursuing a master's in social work. And my professional goal would be to work for the government, ideally I'd like to help female veterans and victims of military sexual trauma.
Okay, so the purpose of this discussion is going to be to engage in discourse with a diverse group of veterans representing all branches of the U.S. military, so that you can see that the military isn't as conservative or as liberal as you might think. There are many different sides to the people who serve in the U.S. military, and this discussion is basically just to present that. Michael, if you'd like to present next.
Okay, before I get into myself, I wanted to thank everybody for coming out. I want to thank the panelists for coming out here today. Any veterans who are out there in the crowd supporting us, or if you're watching the video on YouTube, thank you for your service too. I'm Michael Van Ossenbruggen. I was actually a former president of Student Veterans of America. I also helped to advise for the organization now. I am straight, and I am actually multiracial. I'm a mix of white and Asian. A lot of people automatically think that I'm Hispanic, but I have Indonesian in me, so that's the mix. I was in the Air Force. I was in for 7 years. I was stationed in Keesler Air Force Base, Mississippi. I was stationed at Yokota Air Base in Japan. I was at Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri. I worked with a lot of Army, Navy, Marines. I deployed with SOCCENT, Special Operations Central Command Forward, and I did a lot of great missions and met a lot of amazing people over there. I talk a lot, so I'm going to try to keep it brief and let the next person speak.
Oh, me.
Robinson, it's your turn. Yeah.
Hello, hi. I want to say thank you guys for coming. I appreciate it. My name is Robinson Charis. I was a sergeant in the United States Army. Identify as a heterosexual male or straight. I was born in Venezuela. My MOS was a 91 Bravo light wheel mechanic, so I was responsible for maintaining vehicles and make sure they work on missions. I was stationed in Fort Polk, Louisiana, and Fort Drum, New York. Oh yeah, and I'm studying psychology. I'm also working for a nonprofit right now to fight against human sex trafficking, and my academic goal is to hopefully get a master's in social work so I can work with veterans and children that have been victims of human sex trafficking.
Hello, my name's Asia Anderson. Thanks for being here, really appreciate it. I was in the Coast Guard. I served for 10 years from 2007 to 2017, so I haven't been out very long. Let's see. I identify as European, I'm white, let's see. My pronouns are she and her. My occupation in the military was, I was mostly at sea. I was a sailor for about 7 out of the 10 years. I did long patrols. I was a damage controlman, so I was welder, metal fabricator, carpenter, anything you can think of, we pretty much did at sea. And then I started out in the military specifically for law enforcement, for search and rescue, and then it started going towards DEA law enforcement, so that's kind of when I decided to leave. I got out as a second class, and my academic path right now, I'm in history and anthropology, but I'm switching completely into pastry and baking. I'm going to New York for the Culinary Institute of America in September.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for having me. And nice to have this wonderful collection of people here next to me. I'm Henry Antonor. I was also former president of the Student Veterans of America. I was born here in Miami, Florida, but my parents came from Haiti. I identify as a cisgendered male. Pronouns are he, him. Ethnicity, African American, or race black. Military occupation, I was initially in the Marine Corps as a what they call mass communicator or combat correspondent, or what a lot of people assume to be just combat camera. But after 2 years of that, I switched over to doing embassy security guard. Most of my time in the Marine Corps, the 6 years I was there, I was abroad. I was in Okinawa, Japan, Sofia, Bulgaria, N'Djamena, Chad, and Madrid, Spain. And during those tours, I'll travel around mostly African or European countries and seeing about 30 countries so far. My academic goal is to graduate this semester with my BA in communications. My professional goal is to go abroad again and teach English.
Awesome. Well, thank you all for introducing yourselves. Now we're going to go ahead and get into the military panel questions. So before starting, I want to state that I humbly request that you all, our guests, don't ask about any confidential military information to our panelists. We'd also like to warn everyone that this conversation may be triggering to some. Okay, so the first question is going to be, what is diversity and what does it mean to you?
Well, I guess since I didn't say my MOS, I'll kind of have it apply to this question. Diversity, when I think of it, the military in general is very diverse of what we have. But people automatically, when they ask if what branch I am, and I say Air Force, they automatically say, oh, what did you fly? Well, in the Air Force, we have all different occupations, just like in every branch. I was actually vehicle ops, which for the Army guys out there, that's 88 Mike, 2T1X1 for all you Air Force. I got to do amazing things, driving all over different places. Diversity was definitely a big thing that impacted me in the different bases I was at. Louisiana was it was a different time because it was like I was there before 2012, and there was a lot of controversial things that were happening. I'm not sure if I should say it, and if anyone asks any specific questions, then maybe I can answer. But I don't think. I'll move on to FIU. FIU is obviously a big, diverse place that I've been to. A lot of people, when I tell them, oh, I was in the military, I was basically a professional driver, they're like, wow, really? And now how did you get in the field that you're in now? I'm actually working on my master's for speech-language pathology, which you don't have to do exactly what you did in the military. That's the amazing thing. But what we got from it was a lot of leadership, a lot of integrity, things that we can use in the civilian world. So if any of you are veterans that are looking for a different, field, don't give up. And you can do anything, really. I think that's what we learned a lot, is that things that didn't totally take us down, we get back up, and we can do anything if we really put our mind to it.
If you can't tell, I'm not very good at public speaking, so it's a skill I'm working on. So diversity to me, every day in the military, especially as a woman, and especially as a female engineer. So every day was diverse, from being included into meetings in the daytime, or being included in planning, and, having a voice, and, someone, especially me, I'm 5 foot. So being an engineer as small as I am, a lot of the time what I said didn't really count. So you had to push far. You had to push harder, and you had to be better, and you had to be on time, and you had to be there later than everybody else. So you had to really show that you wanted to be there. You had to force people to see you. Let's see. At school, it's a little different. I'm not from Miami. I'm from California. So it's definitely been interesting to kind of integrate into a place as diverse as Miami. Everybody's here from all over the world. So it's everybody's included because it's so inclusive. So it's kind of cool to see, honestly. I wasn't raised in a place that was extremely inclusive, so it's nice to be a part of it now.
Never seen so many white people until I joined the Marine Corps. That hit me when I was in boot camp, and I was looking around, and I'm like, I'm from Miami. I'm from a very diverse place already. So when I'm looking around, I'm like, oh, we really are like 12 to 13%, the African-American population. So as I was going through my Marine Corps experiences, and I'm learning and meeting new people, I'm learning about people from different places around the United States. I even meet people from Russia or within the Marine Corps who are originally from Russia, the Philippines, around Asia, Africa. That was some of the most, like, I thought Miami is diverse, but then when you join like an organization like the Marine Corps that will take anybody who's willing to shoot and go to war, you see them from all places around the world, from as far north as the Iceland and Denmark to down to South Africa, or meeting your own Haitians here and there. I will say that you'll get the most diversity in the military, race-wise, ethnicity-wise, and also politically. And there comes an interesting time where you gotta sit down with a guy who is opposite of you in views, and there are times where the things he say will rub you wrong, but he's still my brother. And as my brother, I will look out for him and love him and make sure he makes it back home. But there are also other times where you just want to, knock sense into somebody. But I do have to appreciate those people, although they stand on the opposite fence. You do get to learn more about why they think the way they do, and it sort of opens your horizon just a little bit, or a lot more, depending on who you are. So the diversity of thought, that mattered a lot to me in the Marine Corps.
Hello, hi. For me, diversity, like, I grew up in Miami, so I was always surrounded by a diverse group of people with different backgrounds. What I really like about the military, we all came from different backgrounds, and when you got there, they actually told you to throw that all away. Because the people to your left and your right are you consider your brothers and sisters, so you're willing to die for them, and they're willing to die for you. So no one really saw, sorry for the language, no one saw white, black, Hispanic. They didn't see skin color. We all, in the Army, we have this model like everyone bleeds green. So we all bleed the same blood, so we'll die for each other. So when our drill sergeants first saw us, they're like, if you're racist, throw that away. If you're homophobic, throw that away. Because the person next to you is going to protect you, because that's the only family you're going to get if you go somewhere else. So diversity to me is just a word, because if you're a friend or if you're a comrade, I will have your back, and hopefully you do the same. So
Those are all really good answers. Let's get into the second question. How did your identity, race, gender, sexual orientation, religious beliefs, political views, etc., shape your military service?
I think, I'm actually from New England. I grew up near Boston, so I try to mile that down, because I know that I got a lot of haters around here. But we're gonna talk about that. Yeah, I'll say something
just
different.
like the accent.
Yeah,
I know you're kind.
yeah, you know. Well, I was a little older too when I joined, and I was raised by a single mother, so it was, and I was traveling around my whole life. I went from New Hampshire to Massachusetts and then down to Miami in high school. So like going to different places, and I was used to, like, sometimes my mom wasn't around because she had to work multiple jobs, and I just stayed with my siblings. So when I remember going to boot camp, there's always those guys that are freaking out, crying, and like, oh, I want to go home. So I was used to it. It was a fun time for me. I was like, this is good. I'm guaranteed food. I know I'm gonna have. I liked it. So I was kind of like the grandfather of the group, and I was really giving them hope. I was motivating them, and I think I learned a lot about myself. So I know it sounds crazy, but I actually gained more of my identity when I was in the military than before I was in the military. I realized what I was capable of and what I wasn't capable of, which is a big thing too. You need to see not only your strengths but your weaknesses, and find out the weaknesses and try to find a way to turn that into a strength, because it really can. And that's what I learned and throughout all my experience. And then everything that you do in the military is relative to the rest of your career. So when it comes to religion, I was always, my mother was more free-spirited. So I honestly, when it was boot camp, I don't know about you guys, but we had so many different churches. Like they have they have a service for pretty much everything. So every week I would try to go to a different one just to learn more about it and learn more about myself. When it came to sexual orientation, that was not really a big thing with me. I came in married, so that was not an issue. But what my experience was throughout was huge, because, like I said, I was in before 2012. I don't know if you guys were in too, but before 2012, they had Don't Ask, Don't Tell. So it was very hush-hush. So a lot of us knew what was or wasn't, and I remember it being really crazy. I don't know if there's a question specifically on that. Okay, there is, so I'll get more to on that. But what else? We have political views. It's just like he was saying, with political views, you're always going to be there with different people. But since I was older, when you go through different stages of life, you may go from one political party to another political party. That's just how we are as a person, because you may have something that you feel really strongly about, and then maybe a few years down the road, you're like, you know what? That's not right. I'm going to change it. And that's totally fine, too. I think that's a big thing that a lot of people, should realize, is they should be open to changing their mind about different things. And like what he was saying, like, you get to learn different perspectives and then see where they came from and why they had that perspective. So I myself had to also shape. I wasn't always expecting that person to change. I needed to also change.
Why do you have to be so good at speaking? Okay. My entire 10 years in the military was a seesaw. Like, it was up and downs, left and rights. It was crazy. I don't know if I'll ever be in anything else that sporadic and random in my entire life. So, let's see. So my identity kind of changed a lot, actually, in the military. So I kind of had the same upbringing a little bit because my mom was a single mom. I was one out of two. She had me at 17, so we were really young. I remember going to college with my mom when she was 25. I mean, I was always, like, we grew up together. I was homeschooled too, and I was pretty heavily bullied when I was younger, so I was kind of a timid kid. So going into the military when I was 20, after being with my mom my entire life, never really leaving, was insane. I didn't really have any social skills. I didn't even know how online shopping worked or how to use a debit card or any of that. So all the skills I learned in my first maybe 2 years in the military. So it made me a little bit easy to get talked into things. So I ended up in a lot of bad situations on accident. Sexual orientation, so I got in 2007, and that's well before the don't ask, don't tell policy was even really talked about, I think. So it wasn't really something, I was around it, of course, because I had a few gay and lesbian friends in the military, but it wasn't talked about. It was not something that they raised their hand and they would give the information. It was something that you keep hidden and you keep locked up because people would get beaten up. I mean, there was quite a few times I saw someone leaving with, blood on them, or they got, punched in the face or something like that, or kicked out. Yeah, you had to be careful with that information. Religious beliefs, I kind of went up and down with that too. It really depends on what was happening at the time. Sometimes that you really hold on to faith when you're in a bad situation, or sometimes you throw the Bible and you're like, no more. So I really think that, you go up and down. It follows where you're going through. Political views. I remember standing on the fantail of my very first ship in Alaska, and I called my mom because I was super excited because Obama just got voted into the presidency. And I was like so proud of America for doing something. Like, I was over the moon. So we talked for like 3 hours while we were getting ready to go underway. And that's probably one of the better memories I had of my first unit. So that was really cool. Everybody was happy about that. They were throwing things off the ship, celebrating. It was pretty cool. Yeah, that's about it.
Nice job. I remember when Trump was first elected, and all the crying and the pain and people coming into the embassy. It was Chad too, and people took a day off that day, and I was in the security booth just doing my job, and somebody else was there with me, and we looked at each other and we just shrugged our shoulders. At that time, I didn't care much for politics. I was in Engineer Chad, and all I knew was at one point or time somebody might attack the embassy and things will go down. So politically, I didn't pay too much attention to America, but I did pay attention to other people around me with political views, and I did a lot of listening. Except for one guy who got on my nerves, but I did a lot of listening to a lot of Republicans, and when you just sit back and ask the right questions, you really start to understand where they're coming from, where they come from, small towns, where they come from, family-wise, the Bible-thumping Midwest. Because when I went into the military, I don't really think I really discovered my identity during that time, and that made me mostly a blank slate at 18 years old. And the military imparted everything they wanted onto me, so I go from one situation to another, and I just adapt and rolled with it. But part of that was in my own individual expense. While there were jokes here and there within the office, and most things you shrug off. But then there are times where you look back on some not exactly microaggressions, but things that are made fun of in your own expense, such as the fact that being from Miami, we talk or we speak in a certain way. And I also had a lisp at the time that slips in here and there, and W's and R's are nightmares for me. So with that said, being in the mass communicating field in that office, every now and then something I'll say gets misconstrued or slip up, and we have a laugh about it. And that was that. It became something else when they made a book called Antonor Sayings, a list of all the little phrases that I either mess up or that comes from Miami here and there. And I'm the only one that has that book with my name on it. I never really thought about it until like recently once I got out of the military, and I think back and I'm like, man, I let a lot of people walk over me. Well, I'm trying not to let that happen anymore. So some experiences within the military are awesome and great, but other things kind of detrimental to your own person. So let's see, as per your identity. With religious beliefs, what's the term? You don't really believe exactly, but you're not sure.
Agnostic.
Agnostic, yeah, let's go with that. Sexual orientation, straight. Gender, male. Race, black.
Okay, my turn, I guess. The question was number 2, right? Okay, so how do your identity, race, political views shape your military service? Like I think most people here, or some people here, are from Miami. So I'm from a Hispanic background. So my mom and dad were Roman Catholic. They tried to raise me to be religious, but sorry, like I grew up in a young age to be very open-minded, regardless if you were gay, straight, black, regardless. As long as you respected me, I respected you. So with that level of open-mindedness, even my parents tried to teach me religious, they also taught me to be like welcoming others. So that kind of made my transition in the Army much easier. Also, my older brother was in the Marines, so he told me some things like, hey, people are people. And me studying psychology now, I can't get mad at someone else because that's their own background. Like me being Hispanic, I totally understand why this, let's say, Caucasian male or female came up to me. They're like, oh, you speak Spanish? I think you're Mexican. I'm like, I'm from Venezuela, but okay, cool. Like, gender, I identify as male. Political views, I don't like a house divided. I think we should really just come together and talk about the better issues, not certain people with political power to talk about their own interest. We have to be working together. That's what I like about the military. We all came from different backgrounds and we worked together to accomplish the mission. But to me, the mission never came first. It was actually my people that came first, or the soldiers. Because if I can take care of my soldiers, the mission will come along. So, and I think it still continues to shape me when I look back at my military service, because it's for you as a person, you're always gonna forever change. But look back and be prideful for who you are, because eventually that's gonna help you for who you will become. So.
Awesome, awesome. All good answers. So number 3 sort of echoes number 2, so we're going to go ahead and skip that one. Number 4 is, what are some of the specific ways that you have advocated for change and the successes and challenges you've faced?
This is a tough one. Okay, advocating for change. I guess I will talk more as me being a veteran and a student of FIU for this one. I think that's fair, right? That's okay.
Right.
I think that what we all do as individuals is we try. I think a lot of people have an automatic assumption, just like they do with everything, but they definitely have one for veterans. And we are all different. We come from different backgrounds, as you guys can see. And I think that I want to advocate and continue to advocate for us as veterans, because when I got out kind of abruptly. I deployed, and then as soon as I came back, I pretty much was just out processing. So I missed a lot that I could have done. I didn't really get to take leave. But I mean, good thing is that you can cash in your leave when you don't have any left over. But so when I came out, I was really sad because it's tough, not only just because of the experiences that you think of and that they reflect in your mind, whether you dream and reflect on things that maybe you should or shouldn't have done, or maybe things that happened to other people that you would think, man, why didn't that happen to me instead of them? That always reflects. That's hard. I don't know how to give advice on that. I still need to advise myself on those type of things. But something that I really what helped me a lot was this organization, Student Veterans of America, kind of reached out to me. They were like, oh, hey, you're a veteran? Come join us. There were things that I was eligible for that I didn't even know. I had surgery on my shoulder while I was in that happened while I was deployed, and I didn't know that I was eligible for disability. I didn't know that was a thing, but they came and they told me the process. They directed me. I was fortunate to have a mentor, Mr. Marquez Smith, and he believed in me, and he even told me, like, hey, why don't you try to run for president? I didn't even think anything of it. I didn't think I have a shot. But I came, I spoke and said where I came from, and really just spoke from my heart, because honestly, maybe you wouldn't guess it, but I'm actually more of an introvert. But when I was up there speaking from my heart and people really listened to me, I was like, wow, like people really care about what I have to say. I really have a shot at something. Before I was in the military, I was always placed in what they called the regular classes. They put me in this one section, and I thought that I was not as good as these other people because I'm in the regular classes. I can't be like these people. I can't get my PhD. I can't get my master's degree. I wasn't even thinking about college. But then I did the military. I got out, and they're like, you know what, this is something. It looks good for you. You did something that other people didn't do. And that's really hard for us to translate that experience into the civilian world. They really don't in a lot of places. They may say thank you for your service, but a lot of the stuff that we did doesn't really translate. Like, even to be a driver, I'd still have to get my CDL license. Even though I drove a tractor trailer all over the place, miles and miles, I still can't just get my license. I have to, once again, earn it. So really, that doesn't translate. But when I had that organization, when I had that belief in myself, I became the president. I was like, wow, this is amazing. And then I looked out for different organizations. I looked out for the field that I'm interested in, and I was like, wow, they have an organization for speech-language pathology. Let me join that one. I joined that one. And because I had that confidence of being a part of the e-board, being the president, I was like, why don't I run for the president of this organization? I ended up becoming president. I'm the president this year of the National Student Speech Language Hearing Association, the first male president for this organization at FIU. So I just keep continuing to do things that I never thought I could do. And I'm sitting here to tell you that if I can do it, you can do it too. So I guess for this question, what are you advocating? I'm advocating not only for the veterans out there, the ones that are watching, but you as civilian students too. You can do anything if you put your mind to it. Thank you.
I'd vote for you. Okay. Advocating. Okay. So one of the biggest challenges I faced, even before the military, is I grew up with really bad learning disabilities, and that I would have liked to be in the regular classes with you, but I was in the rainbow room and like resource and all that stuff. So I was raised completely different. So that was hard for me to see myself as an adult once I got into the military. I was always held back by my own thoughts that I couldn't be good enough because I couldn't understand things fast enough, or I couldn't get past basic math. Like in my MOS was construction a lot of the time, and I didn't know how to do the math. I just cut it until it fit, and that's kind of just how I did it. Usually worked out well. So I started advocating for people who had learning disabilities or people who put themselves down. Body image was a really big problem for women in the military because we had to get weighed every 6 months. And if you didn't pass the weight, they stripped you down and then put a tape around you and made sure that you fit numbers. And if you didn't fit the numbers, then you had to be put on the Fat Boy program. And years of that really messes up how you feel about yourself, how you see yourself. You know, I started covering the mirrors in my house. It got really bad. So my biggest thing was learning that I was smart enough and that the mirror was not, you know, it wasn't always telling the truth. Like, you had to kind of validate yourself through yourself. You couldn't listen to people because sometimes they did it out of jealousy, or, you know, they were upset about their own life, so they, you know, threw the negativity on you. So advocating for me was making sure that people, you know, didn't find validation through men or drugs or, you know, the other countless things that we were doing to try to help ourselves. But, you know, you get your validation through good works, you know, being good to people, doing good things on the weekends, going to help out with food drives, you know, helping girls who have really bad learning or eating disorders, helping out at the eating disorder clinic. So whenever I got negative, I usually put that into something positive, and that was really hard to learn how to do. Instead of just sitting there and being mad and, you know, being angry and just not living. So it was hard to kind of harness that negative power and kind of reuse it into something different. So those are probably the biggest ones: learning disability and, you know, body image, eating disorders, all that stuff that became my reality. So you had to, even now, you know, still dealing with these problems, but there's help out there. If anybody's dealing with anything like that, there is plenty of help. There are resources available. There, you know, if you want to find me after, you can talk to me, and I'll help you find the resources you need.
I'm going to use a quote from my ex, who, even though after everything that happened, she continues to be right about a lot of things. She has prophetic powers like that. The thing that you are weak at is the thing that you must conquer and the thing that you must share with others. And I'm going to say that I'm an advocate for self-care. You want to know why? I suck at self-care. I was president from summer 2019 till last month. I resigned, and Tiana had to pick up the weight for me. I had a panic attack or anxiety attack. I'm actually going through the VA health system right now to seek therapy and work on that. But what it led to, what happened, I took on too much on my shoulders, and I didn't take care of myself. The way I operate most days is to look at a list of things I need to do and to get through those things with the fear of failure hounding behind me. And I'll keep at it and ignore my own pains, my spiritual and mental and physical pains, and just keep at it to take care of everybody else and except myself. So eventually that caught up to me. And on that day when it caught up to me, I woke up with, some people call it butterflies, I call it hornets. I woke up with like a nest of hornets in my chest, and I had to go through the whole day with this feeling of anxiety. And I never knew what it felt like. And then I could also say that it wasn't just because of the SVA, but because of issues that came from the Marine Corps. But if it all rolls downhill, and eventually it just smacks me. So when that happened, and then I had to realize I had to make some tough decisions. Either I shut up and keep pushing on as I learned in the Marine Corps, or I do something for myself, even though at the time I felt it was very selfish and wasn't right, because I'm taught to sacrifice more for others than myself. I couldn't do it. I felt like I was going to die. So I resigned, And since then, I've been doing a lot of things for myself. I had LASIK surgery past Friday. It was a weird experience, but I could see 2020 now. Had my ears pierced. I'm doing things with my hair, changed up my style. I'm doing a lot of things for myself and that I never really done before. So it's not for anyone else but for me, and it feels good. So I just want to say I'm an advocate for self-care, even though I still suck at it because there's more things I need to do.
Practice.
Takes practice.
So one like the biggest challenges for me, I think, is for what King says is for me, because I study psychology, is mental health. In the military, they teach you to, at first when you're going to basic, they teach you to be a team member. But once you start going up the ranks, as me gaining the rank of sergeant or being a non-commissioned officer, your needs have to be in a hold and your soldiers' needs come first. So let's say as a young 22, 23-year-old, and you have 12 to maybe 15 people under you, people have a lot of needs. And sometimes there is an acceptable attitude in the military. They accept anger because that allows you to exert your energy and destroy the enemy. But sometimes when I left the military due to my injuries, I got medically discharged. I had a lot of anger. And certain people and certain organizations like SVA really helped me control that. Like if you would have met me outside when I would have just gotten out, I would have probably broken your arm. That's how much anger the military taught us, especially when I was attached with people from Rangers or infantry people, because if we had a problem, we didn't talk about it. We just took off the rank and we just went behind the connex and we just dealt it like men and we just punched it until we knew who's in charge. If I have the rank, you have to listen to me, because if you don't listen to me, you can get someone killed or get yourself killed. So, and as for King, self-care is always, for what King said, it's always important to take care of yourself. Take a vacation, and especially right now that college students are one of the most stressed out people due to work. It keeps increasing. We have this new coronavirus coming out. Take care of yourself, because if you can't take care of somebody, if you can't take care of yourself, you cannot take care of someone else. You will either drag them down with you. So that's all I want to say.
I want to, right before you go on, I want to say that the term take care of it like men, let's say take care of it like warriors, because women could throw down too.
Apologize for that.
Good point. So number 5 sort of echoes number 4 as well, so we're going to move on to number 6. So for those of you who've had abroad assignments while being abroad without disclosing any confidential information, how did your experiences make you a global citizen?
I guess I'll talk about Japan. Well, actually, I could talk about even the deployment too. I learned a lot about like greetings, like how to be polite in the different countries. I mean, if you're in the Middle East, anywhere, whether it's Qatar, Kuwait, Iraq, I didn't get to go to Afghanistan, but I'm sure it's probably similar. But I learned that you shouldn't shake anyone with your left hand. It's actually disrespectful. I never knew that, but it was an interesting fact. You go to these different places and you're like, wow. But another thing that when I was stationed in Japan, I wanted to find out the image of like what a lot of them felt. Obviously, when I say what I say, it's my personal experience, and I mean, I would not say all Japanese think of Americans like this, but from all the ones that I spoke to, they tend to think that us as Americans are aggressive. Like, and I guess I can't lie. I mean, I would play soccer with them on like different places, rooftops in Tachikawa, and I remember like I'm really physical. I didn't really realize it until I started playing sports with them. I'm like, man, I'm really probably a little too aggressive. The way I grab people, it's just a whole different game for them. But no, we talked about different things about past wars, like, because I know about the whole thing with Pearl Harbor. That was a huge thing. So I wanted to ask a few of them about what they think about that. But the ones that I asked about that specific situation were more embarrassed for themselves about how they handled themselves, about the whole Pearl Harbor, about them going to different islands and invading. There's a lot about that story that isn't given out there too. they were actually invading different islands. My grandfather was actually in Indonesia and was a part of a Japanese concentration camp when they had invaded before they even got to Pearl Harbor. So my family was actually very scared for me to go to Japan because of that. They, like, automatically they had that assumption, like, oh, you know, they're Japanese, or, you know, people automatically have that. But you can never say that all of any group is one way or the other. Not everybody thinks like that, and it's a whole different generation. But my experience is that they were really polite. It was weird being on the train, and it was totally silent. I could leave my wallet in a chair, and they would come run me down and give it to me. That's not something I was used to. You know, the doors, I'm used to always locking my door over there. It's like, leave the door unlocked, and that was a pretty cool experience. I never felt like I was in danger when I was in there. I mean, you have different experiences when you go to some other countries. I don't know about you guys, but when you deploy, like, I don't know, I just felt like an energy, like almost like it's like something didn't want me to be there. And that same energy kind of like haunts me still. I still feel it. I don't know. I don't know if it's just me, but that's my
I felt that
experience.
energy too.
Oh,
I don't have much for this one because Coast Guard doesn't usually get stationed outside of the United States unless you're doing a 14-month special operation type thing. But I can talk about a little bit. I remember Germany, men would go through the door first because if anything happened, the man would get taken down and the woman would be safe. So that was kind of different because usually here we open the door for the women first. So that was a little backwards. I guess that's all I have for this one. I'm just going to pass it on. So.
I'm going to talk briefly about multiple places. Being in Okinawa or all of Japan, because I traveled Japan. I did Tokyo, Osaka. Osaka was my favorite. Nara, Hiroshima. I saw the spot where we hit the bomb, and I was like, well, this is a lot more shallow than I thought it would be. But I went to that place, and it's a really nice city. You should visit. It's pretty cool. They have a temple across the water where you could climb the mountain. It's really nice. I went all the way up north to Sapporo, Japan, and in the Hokkaido region, or prefecture, Hokkaido prefecture, they party up there. I remember driving up to the hotel because we were doing that was when the Osprey went up north for the first time in 2014, and I was doing a shoot and a story on that with the air show there. That was the first time the Osprey went up there to be featured. And we got hotel stay, me and this other guy. And as we were driving up, there was a car burning in front of the hotel. And everybody was just calm and casual. And right behind the hotel, there was 4 blocks of just drinking. Japanese like to drink, and they like to sample a lot of beers from around the world. When you get invested into the culture, you start to see that in a lot of ways they are different, but in a lot of ways they are actually similar. And it's kind of unique in that sense, where they're very polite, they're very focused, they work really, really hard. They're very diligent. And then once they're outside of the office, they go wild. So that's kind of cool. You'll learn to say sumimasen and gomenasai a lot. It'll become second nature and all the other greetings. But then going from there to Sofia, Bulgaria. But those two are my favorite because Bulgaria is unique in the sense that all of Eastern Europe is unique in the sense that they're the only countries where white people haven't conquered Africans. So in a sense, when I look at them and they look at me and we're just sitting there and they're a little colder up at first and you get to know them, you build these bonds and relationships with Eastern Europeans. And I have friends in Bulgaria that I still talk to. I have this friend of mine who's a therapist, actually, and her name's Desi, and we talk like at least once every half a year, and I haven't seen her since 2015 or so. So it's been a long time, but when you build connections with Eastern Europeans, they last a long time. And I really like going over there. I might go visit again, even with the coronavirus. Oh well. Other places than going to Africa was really unique. Also another thing. Yes means no. No means yes when you're over in Eastern Europe. I had to learn that the hard way when I had a Romanian girl come up and ask for money, and then there was a Subway nearby. And I was like, "You want some food instead?" And she was like, "That meant yes." And I was taking it as she was saying no, but I was like, "I'm gonna give you food anyway." So I got her a sandwich, but then I was asking, "Do you want soda? Do you want chips?" And she was like, and I'm like, here's a sandwich. And then I walked out, and that's when I realized, oh, she won the soda, she won the chips. Damn. Then Chad was also unique, interesting. Just being in Africa generally was unique. Realizing that men held hands as a sign of friendship and stuff, and you just see just these different little cultural things. So it makes you expand your horizon, and you can't go in assuming something of other people. You also have to be patient with people who assume something of you, because I get a lot of Rick Ross and LeBron James going around, and that I let roll off because you know what, they didn't know any better. It becomes an interesting conversation, but I always have a joke back. But I'm not gonna say what joke I say.
Okay. Thanks, Cake. I'm sad I never deployed. That's one of my biggest regrets because I kind of got in when Obama just got office, so he shrunk the military. So my deployments were on a halt. But going to basic and going to schools for my MOS and learning different types of skill sets, I met people around the world. Like one of my squad leaders, he was Muslim, so I learned some of their customs. I know he never ate like bacon or like ham. I think it was pork, I believe, and he always prayed in certain like different times of the day, and he always had like this like plus like he looked African American when I first talked to him. He's like, yeah, I'm Muslim. I'm like, what? Like, because I had a different like perspective. I'm like, oh, I'm Muslim. I thought a person was covering themselves or going Allah Allah. Sorry, I'm not trying to be racist or anything. It's just I saw that in TV, but he didn't portray that. Like, even him being in the military, like he even told me stories that when he was going to the military, he joined when he was 17. He's like him telling people he was Muslim when 9/11 was happening. That was a different time. People treated Muslims differently. And I also had other friends that were from Africa and South Africa, and like they came to join the military because the military, if you didn't have your papers, the military would expedite your paperwork so you can actually get citizenship. I had a friend, she had her master's in Brazil, and she came here, and military kind of made me more into a global student because I saw different customs. Like me, I needed to learn not like in a Hispanic culture, when you say hi to the opposite gender, you kiss them in the cheek. When I joined the military, I needed to like stop myself from doing that because people thought like, what the hell are you doing? Like, why are you kissing me on the cheek? And you kind of learn different customs. It was pretty interesting. Like, and I'm still like also like some of these people here, they went to Japan. I want to go to Japan too, but sadly the traveling ban kind of got affected. So that's enough for me.
Okay.
Second, I want to be mindful of everyone's time. Some may have to go to class at 1:30, so I don't know if you want to allow time for some questions and then we can continue, or if you can stay afterwards and people can approach you for additional questions. Or
Yeah, of course. So what do you think? 5-10 minutes for questions?
The questions, yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So yeah, anyone who has a question, just put up your hand and then I'll pick you out so that you can ask a question.
Go for it. Shoot.
wait for the mic. I'll run the mic.
Hi, my name is Magda, and I would like to know, why did you guys join?
Okay, awesome. I guess for me, so I joined because in the state of Florida, the Air Force has it to where if you join, the Air Force, then you can have free tuition. And my father was paying out of pocket for my tuition, and tuition's really expensive. So he was like, you're running out of money. Like, you got to find something to do. And I was like, okay, I still want to go to college, so join the Air Force, and that's my story. So.
Yeah, it's pretty much the same for me. Education was a huge thing. I had my associates in criminal justice, and it wasn't really the path that I was interested in. I wanted to do something different, and I also wanted to travel. So I was either going to do the Air Force or the Navy. I don't think I was going to go any other way. If it didn't work out, I probably would have been a civilian like you guys. But no offense to the branches. I know you're giving me that cold look, but
It's a warm look.
yeah, okay, it's warm. No, but yeah, I really wanted to travel, and there's a lot of really nice Air Force bases, and the Navy bases are nice too because they're usually right by the ocean. I don't know about Coast Guard. You guys are probably similar to the Navy too, but
Better.
yeah, okay. Yeah, but no, that was the biggest thing. I'm here utilizing the GI Bill. I'm getting my master's degree, and I don't have any student loans, so that's a big thing, and I would recommend it to anyone. But if I could do it over again, I would have gotten my bachelor's first and joined as an officer. And I would recommend that if I ever have a child that wants to join the military, I'd tell them join as an officer. Don't do the enlisted side because it's a whole other world with us.
Air Force.
I would say do enlisted first for a little bit before you're an officer, because if you don't understand your people, you are not going to be effective and you're not going to be respected. So do a little bit. At least understand a little bit of, sorry for the language of how the shit is. Like you need to be down in the trenches with your people to understand what they're going through, so you can make good calls. So, but eventually, yeah, go officer for the money, I guess too, right? So I went in because I was kind of at an impasse, I guess. My mom was raising 4 kids, and I was still living at home. This was like when I was about 18 or 19. And she says, you need to do something because I can't afford you anymore. And I was like, well, first of all, rude. But, and then I was like, I don't know. I have no life skills. I don't know how to do anything. What am I going to do? And she's like, well, maybe think about the military. I was going to join the Army. She had a total breakdown, started crying, and she said, please don't do that. So I was like, fine. So I eventually found out about the Coast Guard, and I loved it because it was search and rescue at that time. It was before it got really into drugs and trafficking and all that stuff, and I really, really liked the saving people aspect of it. I loved it. So that's kind of how I ended up. I went to mechanic school first because I wasn't sure if I wanted to go. So I went to mechanic school for about a year and a half, realized that I suck at working on cars, and I was like, military it is. So that was it.
I was 17, and I had no idea what I was going to do. I didn't apply for any colleges. I was just cruising through life like in a fog. I was smart enough to do just about anything, but I was just bored and lazy and tired of the school system. And then one day, a well-dressed man in a white hat with a gold emblem on and red running down his blue pants walked up to me in the courtyard at school, shook my hand firmly, and asked, "What are you doing after you graduate?" I said, "Nothing." And then I was in boot camp 4 months later.
I'll do it.
I haven't met that guy after that day, but I will say, out of all the recruiting stories that you hear, I am very thankful to that recruiter. Everything he said was pretty much spot on, and my life is all the better because I joined the Marine Corps and learned a little bit of discipline and gone through some of the experiences that I've gone through, and did the thing that I really wanted to do, is travel the world, and now I'm going to do more traveling in a different way.
For me, the reason why I joined the military, I still remember 9/11 when I was a kid. I think some of you guys still remember how it was. So I wasn't the first person to join the military in my family. It was my older brother, Michael. He joined the Marines. I joined the Army 4 years later. And when he was already 21, he had his car, family, house, and kids, traveling the world, saving people. putting bad people down. I want to do that. I want to save people, shoot down the bad guys, see the world, and do everything. I wanted to do, for me being a second generation immigrant here, my parents came here and made a better life. I want to give something back to my country that gave me so much. And what King said, this is actually the best choice I ever did was join the Army. It made me meet some of the best people ever, and even lifetime partners. And even now, as I'm talking to you, I'm getting paid. So, like, it feels great to go to school. And when they say we're going to take care of you, when you leave, and if you know how to plan it, it can work well. I planned my way out. I got some good benefits. I'm helping people, and I can share those benefits with other people and tell them what they have. Because when veterans come out, the worst thing they don't know is they don't know any information out there. They don't know about benefits. They don't know about certain GI Bills, and that's why we created the SVA, because it helps veterans and dependents and also civilians if they have questions. And you guys can always come and talk to us. Like, just because we're in the military, we're also civilians now too. We may have a dark sense of humor, but but we won't bite you guys. So,
Are there any other questions? Nope. Okay, back to regularly scheduled programming.
I think some might have to go to class.
Okay.
But what I wanted to say is thank you so much for taking the time, paid or unpaid, of coming and sharing your story. And I think, for what I hear, you not only did service during military, but you continue to be of service and you continue to have that mentality. So you always have that in you, and that is amazing that you continue to want to give and share, and you give really important pointers. I don't know if you can stay for a few minutes, and if they have questions, they can approach you.
Absolutely.
And definitely we will do this again with more additional time, but thank you.
Yep.
go Army.
And also, if you want mentorship or want to get in contact with anyone on the panel, just feel free to come up and ask them for their social media handles, numbers, whatever, emails.
I promise I won't
Thank you.
psychoanalyze you.